Hello and welcome to this special report from Blue Eagle News. I'm Mia Sommers and I'm very happy to be here with Mrs. Siobhan O'Connor, who will officially become our principal at WHS on July 1st, 2021. Our three assistant principals will be dividing responsibilities for the rest of the year. Welcome, Mrs. O'Connor. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks, Mia.
So before we start, I think our audience would really like to get to know you a bit. You've graciously shared some of your family photos and memories with us. Can you tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. So first, I loved doing that. So it was so great because it really kind of showed me what is important, right? So you go through all the pictures that you have, and my family is definitely one of the most important things to me.
Yeah.
So it's funny, my career as an elementary principal started when my kids were in elementary school, and now they're both in high school. So it's kind of fortuitous that I'm now coming back to the high school environment.
That's sweet.
It's super fun. They're super excited to have me back at the high school because they grew up with me teaching at the high school.
Right.
So it's full circle. So my family, I have Zach, who's a junior in high school this year, being a senior next year, and Addie, who's going into 10th grade. My life is soccer with them because they are both soccer players. So that's fun. I've got to see them kind of go, and now they both play for high school for Suffield. So they're not a competitor. So that's great. But really, that is my life. I think every parent knows that they kind of take over your life. Right. But it's a great thing. We do things together. We have family dinner together almost every night. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we love to do. And we all cook. And so that's one of the things that we share. And it's just really a fun time. High school is just a great time. I've loved seeing them turn into who they might be. Mm-hmm. So that's really a fun part. But we love to travel. It's something about our family. It's important to know. We definitely play hard, vacation hard. Yeah. We really love that. So we're actually heading to Disney this summer.
Nice.
They wanted to go back there. So that's kind of what we do in the off season.
Yeah.
But we really only get a little bit of an off season. But yeah, I think that my family reflects who I am. Mm-hmm. And so that's a really special piece of who I am as a person.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
So clearly, family is very important to you.
It is, yeah.
So what will you do to bring that sense of family and community to Wethersfield High?
Yeah, so I think that's an absolute extension, right? We are in school more than we're at home. And so we want any school to feel like a family environment and feel like everyone's welcome and that everyone gets to be who they are as a student here at Wethersfield High School, and that we know each other. And so I think that's my first thing, right? Get to know people. Who are you? What do you want to do? And that's staff and students. So how do we kind of come together and celebrate our individuality while still being a part of the Wethersfield community? So that's what I'm really excited about, and that's what I've missed, because you really get to see who people are as individuals in high school. There's just so many clubs and organizations and sports, and that's where people shine in the classroom as well, but really you kind of get to see what people's passions are. Right. And so that's something that I'm really excited to get to see again. Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So you're a graduate of UConn, is that correct?
I am, so Central and UConn.
Nice, yeah. Yep. So can you share a little bit about your educational experience and your past work experiences with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would be what I think people would call a non-traditional student. I was not one of those kids who knew exactly what they wanted to be when they grew up. I went through a lot of different things and kind of wasn't sure after high school. And so I took a year off and I worked and I figured out that's not what I wanted to do. So I ended up working full time throughout my entire college experience. So I worked and then went to Central. And that was great. I think it taught me just how to balance life and how to be great at time management and prioritizing. But it was also hard. And so I think it definitely taught me the value of education. So I did that, and then I started teaching. I had a wonderful history teacher, Sharon Krualens, who is no longer with us, unfortunately, but I went back kind of like not knowing, right? I'm like, I don't really know what I want to be. And she looked at me, she's like, you're a teacher, stop it. So like, oh, okay, actually, yeah. So I went back, I kind of changed my major, decided to go into education and history, and the rest is kind of history. That's where I ended up. Yeah. But it's always been something I've done. I think people who end up being teachers always kind of had a piece of that. Like growing up, they were either babysitters or they were coaches, and I was kind of both of those things. Yeah. So it was a really natural fit for me, and it was definitely the best decision I've ever made in my life is to go into teaching.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you were formerly principal at Highcrest Elementary, which is also in Wethersfield. Yeah. So how will you use your former experiences with Wethersfield Public Schools and, kind of use that as you transition to Wethersfield High?
Yeah, absolutely. So right? I was a high school teacher, ended up being an elementary principal in Norwich and now in Wethersfield. And I really feel what you learn in elementary school is it's that sense of community, right? Like you walk into an elementary school and everyone knows each other and everyone really cares about you. And I think that's a great thing to have. It's a great sense of community that I would bring here to Wethersfield High School, right? It's that knowing everyone's name and kind of knowing what that path is and what you like, right? In elementary school, it's what do you like, right? It's usually like a sports team or like, you know, what day is their favorite day in the cafeteria, right? It's always chicken nugget day or pizza day, which is probably the same at the high school. But I think that it's that kind of knowledge of people. And that's what I've really been able to do as a principal, is really get to know the staff and really get to know the kids. And I think that's why I've been successful in whatever level I've been in, because I always knew my kids as a teacher, right? I think you have to know kind of what motivates kids, what's the tell, like when that's a bad day, how do you know? Because everyone has a different tell.
Oh yeah.
But that was my strength as teacher, and I think it's also what's translated great for me as a principal, is like just walking by that classroom and being, something's off. Yeah. And like, how do we kind of make your day better? So those are the things that I love about my job. Yeah. And I think that's another thing. I love my job. Yeah. It's fun. I get to laugh. I get to meet new people. I get to have my day be different every day. Right. And so that's, I've had jobs where that's not the case. Yeah. But that's one of the things I love about education, is that you never know what you're walking into. And it just makes the day go by and you enjoy it. Right.
So do you have any goals for your first academic year here at WHS?
Sure. So really my overall goal, honestly, is to learn, is to listen and learn. I think that's the best way to go into any new environment, is to really figure out what is Wethersfield High School all about. I think I would always be the first to say, I don't know. Yeah. Right? I don't know. I haven't been here, and I would never go in and make presumptions or assumptions. I think that's not fair to anyone. Right. So I'm not one of those people who decides like, oh, we're going to go in and change everything. Yeah. That is just stressful, and we've had a really stressful couple of years with the pandemic, and that's not what I'm about. But do I have aspirations for Wethersfield High School? Absolutely. I'm a person who really believes in continuous improvement, and we can always make things better. I could always do a lesson better as a teacher. I could always do something better as an administrator. And so I really feel like that would be my goal for Wethersfield High School, is just taking us to the next level. How can we continuously reflect and learn and improve? And that takes a lot of listening, right, to kind of figure out where are we and where does the staff and students want to go? Because it's not my high school. It's your high school. I just happen to be the leader of it. Yeah. But I'm just one person. So I think that kind of that humility I generally will bring is like, I want to know. Yeah. I want to learn. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what do you see from what you've seen so far? What do you think are some of our high school's greatest strengths and our greatest weaknesses?
Yeah, so I wouldn't really presume to know weaknesses at this point.
I know.
I've walked around and everything looks the same. So for me, it's like just kind of getting to know kind of the environment. I think strengths, I see that pride in Wethersfield, right? So you don't walk around and see the halls dirty. And like there's like those little hallmarks where people, don't really respect the school. And you don't see that, right? Everyone's been very kind, very welcoming, very respectful. People say hi. When you don't, it's usually because the earbuds are in and you don't even hear us. Right. But whatever, I have a teenager, so that's not a big deal. But I think everyone's been super wonderful just in the kind of day I've been here. So I feel like that's, a positive sign, and it's always hard to change. Mr. Moore and I, we get along great. I've known him for 4 years, but he's an institution. He's been here for a really long time, and he's a wealth of knowledge. And so I think it's been really great to spend time with him. Even before this, just kind of getting his perspective on Wethersfield, and that's a wonderful opportunity for me. But I really think he set us up for success. And how do we kind of move into that continuous improvement model? I know that he completely supports that. Right. And so that's great to kind of get his insight on how we can do that. And it's a great team. And that's what I've noticed, is that everyone seems to kind of really work together and dig in and want to do the work. And that's great. It's a great administrative team, Mr. Maltesi and Mr. Webb and Ms. Yesko. They're dedicated because they're doing his job, for about last 3 months. And that shows dedication too. So I'm just really excited about getting to join that team. Yeah,
I think it'll be a really smooth transition.
Yeah, thanks. I hope so.
I know. So on a more serious note, amid the Black Lives Matter protests and the Stop Asian Hate movement, What will you do to prevent, discrimination in our school system?
Yeah. So I think that that's an incredibly important topic. And, from my history in teaching, so I grew up in Windsor, a very diverse place. I taught in Bloomfield and Windsor. So I think that's a lens that I've always brought to, to any of the positions I've had. So I think understanding that not everyone is the same, right? And that there are inherent differences and inherent differences in experience that we really need to value, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you have to listen and really understand what has everyone's different experience been at Wethersfield High School, and how can we improve that? How can we be inclusive? How can we really feel that everyone is welcome here? And this is everyone's school. I think that's just a really important piece. And I think when you open up those conversations, they are tremendously difficult conversations because not everyone shares the same worldview.
Right.
And so to be truly inclusive, you need to be really open listener and kind of take that in and figure out, oh, you're right, I don't go through life with the same set of experiences and the same lens.
Right.
But we have students here from many different backgrounds who do, who have different experiences, and I need to listen and I need to learn from them just as well and figure out how could we be more welcoming. Is that even a problem, right? Because I don't know. I've never been here, but based on the protest movements, I would say that every school is challenged by that because schools and institutions of learning are very slow to change.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of institutions that's what it's like. It's hard to sometimes change how people view things. But I think that first step is really listening. And I know you've had a few things going on with the equity team and then the primary project. Those pieces, that's a great first step, right? And how do we kind of bring that to a broader audience and really engage in those conversations in a really meaningful way so people's voices are heard? Because that's, I think, the first step, is really that listening.
Thank you. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah. So I know your mom has been a high school English teacher, principal, and superintendent.
She has.
So obviously, clearly education is very important to you. You've already said that, it's kind of your life, and that's awesome. So it's really great to see you following in her footsteps. Yeah,
so my mom is actually a second career teacher. So she was in the banking industry growing up. And she always wanted to be a teacher. In the 70s, they didn't pay very well. So she decided to go into something that would pay the bills. But she really always had a lifelong passion for education. And so when I was in high school, actually, she went back and to be a teacher and never would have expected to be a high school principal. I think she didn't really anticipate that path either. I will tell you that she is a consummate teacher, and I learned from the best. She's one of those people who really, you go into a store and she can figure out how she's going to use that as a lesson plan.
Right.
And so it's just like that kind of natural teaching ability. And it was just great to kind of always have someone to bounce ideas off of, because especially being an elementary principal, it can be lonely. So it was always great to kind of have those conversations about either lesson plans when we were both teaching or administration when we were both kind of in that role. So it's great. She's definitely always been a role model for me.
That's awesome. I love having that, that kind of aspect of your relationship with your mother. That's really, really sweet.
Yeah.
So do you have any aspirations to become superintendent like your mom?
So it's funny. So I think if you asked my mother, she would say the worst job she ever had was school superintendent.
Oh, it's a lot.
It is definitely a lot. And I think what's important in life is to never close a door.
Right.
And I don't necessarily know what I want to be, in 20 years. I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's a possibility, but I'm not really sure. When I went into administration, this was always the job I envisioned for myself, is being a high school principal. So, I kind of landed where I expected to, over a decade ago, which seems like a really long time. But this is really what I'm excited about, is to really get this opportunity and be back in the high school environment, which is just something I've always missed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So as I'm sure you know, Wethersfield High has been going through the process of reaccreditation through NEASC this year. So one of the really hot topics of the reaccreditation process was the vision of the graduate. Yes. So what does the vision of the graduate at Wethersfield High, what would you like it to mean, or what does it mean to you?
Sure. So I think it has to be more than a piece of paper. Right. And I think that's a really important piece. And really, if you look at it, it's what are those skills that students need to be productive members of society? It's something that's easily applicable and can be applicable to almost every course that you take. Yeah. And so how are we really giving students the ability to engage in those very important skills that are applicable to life and school and college and career in a meaningful way? Because I think sometimes that's something that people miss, right? Like, well, why am I taking this course? I'm never going to use this. Well, in every course, you're learning skills that are easily something that I would use later in life. Right. Sometimes you have to make that link for people, right? But I think that really that's what they are. You know, being a problem solver, being able to communicate, being able to, you know, contribute or collaborate. Those are all skills in whatever environment is going to be postgraduate for anyone, you're going to use.
Right.
And I think we use them every day. So I think highlighting those and kind of making every course really come alive for that authentic application of skills is hugely important. And I think that's what the Portrait of the Graduate really does for people. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a great thing that we kind of, it's a step sometimes we miss. Like, oh, yeah, this is why I'm teaching this. This is why I'm learning this.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you were to look into the future, you know, in Mr. Moore's position, what would you like what would your vision of your impact on WHS be?
Sure. So I guess I hope that people would see how dedicated I am to making it a really valuable experience, right? How can high school be something that I look back at and say, wow, those were like 4 years that were really great and really hard, because it's a hard time of everyone's life, high school. But I want them to be happy and proud about what they did and what they were able to do.
Right.
And I think that I want them to have fun.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. It's fun. I have fun at my job every single day. I laugh, I joke, but I also take my job very seriously because I've always valued education. And I feel like as a school administrator, the reason I left my classroom, which I absolutely loved, was because I felt like I could have a bigger impact as a school administrator. And so I take that very seriously. And it's making sure that everyone has a really quality experience that they can look back to and say, hey, those were some really good years.
Yeah.
That would be my hope, that we can create that kind of environment.
Awesome. All right, so before we close, we do have some fun questions from some of the students that we pulled on Instagram.
Excellent.
All right, so what was your first car?
Oh, I did not love my first car.
Really?
So my first car was a beige Ford Tempo, which honestly I did not love. Yes, we have gone up in the world since then, but it was not my favorite car. But it drove.
Right.
So I was in high school.
That's all that matters.
That's it, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite travel destination that you've been to?
So we do love to travel. So I would say one of my favorites, I'll probably go with a few if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, of course.
So one of my absolute best times was I rafted the Colorado through the Grand Canyon with my father.
Gosh.
So that was an absolute amazing trip.
Yeah.
I am not a camper, generally speaking, but we did camp that entire 7 days. And so that was an absolute amazing experience. With my family, Disney will always kind of hold a special place in our heart because that's kind of where they went as kids, and now they wanted to kind of do it last trip before he was a senior in high school. So that's a special place. And then my last place would probably be driving Route 1 in California.
Nice.
So we've done that a few times, and it's just spectacular and gorgeous, and you know, just get to drive on the cliff and see the Pacific Ocean.
Let's see. Okay.
Favorite movie? Ice cream.
Favorite flavor of ice cream.
Oh, favorite flavor of ice cream? Probably coffee.
Coffee.
Probably coffee.
Yeah. That's a good choice.
Yeah, I mean, or it's hard. Peanut butter half baked by Ben and Jerry's isn't bad either.
Yes.
But yeah, is there a bad flavor of ice cream?
Not really. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your favorite movie franchise?
So we're talking like Star Wars, Harry
Marvel,
Potter kind of thing. So I would say nostalgic-wise, Harry Potter, because my kids were super into that. That was their age group. So Star Wars probably though, with our family is pretty big. It's a big one. My son is really into the Clone Wars and like all of that. So I'll go with Star Wars for currently.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color?
I don't really have one, to be honest.
Really?
I like everything. Yeah. Really. Mustard yellow, not really a fan of. Yeah. But you probably will never see me wearing that. But I do like to branch out. I love color. So I generally my office will be colorful. I really do appreciate color. I think it just lightens the mood.
Vibrant. That's nice. That's good.
Yes.
Okay. What's your favorite Muppet character?
Easily Animal.
Yes.
Right?
That's a good choice.
You can be crazy. Like everyone wants to be that person that you can just like go absolutely crazy and people still love you and right? Because that's not typical, but definitely going to go with Animal.
Were you in a sorority in college?
So like I said, I didn't really have a typical college experience, so I was not in a sorority. I went to school and went to work, and that was college for me. So no sororities.
What is your favorite baseball team?
So admittedly, we're not huge baseball fans.
Okay.
I'm sorry to disappoint any fans out there. I grew up, we couldn't like American League teams in my house because my stepfather was very clear that American League, the pitchers don't hit. So that was not, we could not be American League fans. So we grew up Mets fans, but my family's much more football fans. So we are Giants fans,
nice,
and huge soccer fans, and our team happens to be Man United. So those are really more my sports.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was the first job you ever had?
First actual paying job where you had to pay taxes was gymboree at the Buckland Hills Mall.
Oh, yeah, I know what that is.
Yep, I sold kids clothes. Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
I know, really, really great experience. It was great to get to know you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for this. This was great.
Yeah.
Painless.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for watching. Personally, I am very, very excited to be in school next year with Mrs. O'Connor, and we'll see you next time.